Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game that I played a lot when I was in sort of elementary and high school. It's a game called Waterloo, Napoleon's Last Battle. It's a real-time tactical game made by Breakaway Games. It was originally made, I believe, in 2001. The game was built off the Sid Meier's Gettysburg engine, although it might have actually been the enhancements that they made for Sid Meier's Antietam. And that game, Sid Meier's Gettysburg, was a 97 game, I believe. Antietam was 99. And then the engine was sold by Firaxis, Sid Meier's company, to Breakaway Games, who developed this game, Waterloo, Napoleon's Last Battle. So it's very similar to those sort of real-time linear combat games of the Gettysburg and Antietam variety, with the exception that now it's moving into the Napoleonic theaters. And there's a big change in the way the game plays, because in the Gettysburg and Antietam games, you really don't have to worry about forming squares. Cavalry is really more of a screening force that's not really going to charge, and it's not really devastating when it charges. And artillery is a little bit different as well. So this game does add a couple of new features compared to the previous ones, new as in, 20 years old, but new to the game, which were artillery has two different types of ammunition. That was sort of simulated in previous games, but now it's explicit where it has shrapnel and it also has shell. And then it also introduces the ability of infantry to form square and column or an attack column formations, which are unique to the Napoleonic period and also very important to how the game plays. So we're going to jump in. Now, you're going to notice a few things. This is a 20-year-old game that doesn't play terribly friendly with Windows. And so on the left side of the screen, you see nothing. There's actually a list of scenarios here, but for whatever reason, the text in the game, outside like these standard windows where it does give you text, there should be text here, and you can kind of see it flicker in and out when I scroll. Same thing here for the scenarios. There are a lot of scenarios in this game, ranging from the entire Battle of Waterloo, the La Grande Armée, down to, I think there's, 8 tutorials? 6 tutorials, and then a whole bunch of different scenarios that you can play here. You can see the scenarios scrolling through on the right side. We're going to do a big one tonight. I think we're going to do the entire Battle of Waterloo. So there's a couple of large variants that you can play through with the Battle of Waterloo. You can play through sort of a hypothetical if Napoleon attacked in the morning before the ground dried out. So he attacks at 9:30 instead of waiting till 11:30. So that gives you about 2 more hours of combat if you play this battle. But in the morning scenario, the army isn't fully deployed. It's still coming up on the roadways, and so that is something that is a little bit different in terms of the historical Waterloo deployment of the French army. You have a maneuver sur les derrières, Napoleon's classic tactic, which assumes that Napoleon sort of marches around the army's flank to the west of the Hougoumont. Wellington apparently deployed 15,000 soldiers further west to prepare for this very eventuality, although Napoleon did not do it. So you've kind of got a line of troops ready in in line formation near the Hougoumont to the west. It gives you an extra half hour to play the battle, and your troops are strung out in sort of a line down a main roadway that allows you to sort of move in and try and flank the Allied position. And then you have the historical Battle of Waterloo, 1130 to 2030. 18th of June, 1815. This is the historical Battle of Waterloo. I'm not sure if you choose variant, if there's a chance that Grouchy shows up or not. Grouchy's 30,000 men who Napoleon sent off to fight the Battle of Wavre to sort of pursue the Prussians, but they didn't get between the Prussians and the British, and they allowed the Prussians to show up. I'm not sure if that happens or not in this game. But we're going to play the historical variant, free activation, which means I can basically turn my troops on at any time and start fighting. And we're going to fight on the side of the French, because sitting and waiting to see what the Allies do is a little bit boring. We're going to play on the Marshall difficulty, which may make things a little bit challenging. We'll see. And then we're going to play, as I said, as the French. So with that being said, let's go in and play the battle. Okay, so no, we're not paused. So we will get in here. We're in the battlefield. You can see things are a little bit blurry. But that's because we're looking at 1990s graphics, if you will. Now you can see here the French army, and this is something you're going to have to bear with here, is it's difficult to scroll without like scrolling really fast. But you can see the French army is deployed along this ridge here in front, or behind the, I don't know, the Pente de Papelotte, all the way off to the east. The British hold a couple of fortified towns or fortified buildings here at La Haye and Papelotte on the right flank. The French army continues a little bit further off, and then you've got the Hougoumont off further to the right, and then also you've got some of the major other fortifications where they tried to hold off the Prussians, all the way down here, I think, at the Place Noire. So this is the French army's deployment. You can see the units are currently grayed out, if you will. That means they're not activated, but because I did the free activation, I can just activate the units at my discretion. So they're currently locked in place, not activated units, with the exception of, for whatever reason, all of the artillery is activated, which I don't quite understand, but that's the situation. Now, the French army has Jerome Bonaparte's division, the 6th Infantry Division here of the 2nd Corps, on the far extreme left flank. You can see here the Hougoumont, the historical farmhouse, is in this vicinity that Jerome was directed to launch a feint against. He pretty much launched his whole division and kind of removed a lot of the 2nd Corps' infantry by attacking the Hougoumont in the way he did. But there's the Hougoumont. You can see here there's 4 different farm buildings that Allies can put troops in. Right now they only have troops in one here on the far left, but they can put troops in all of them, and they undoubtedly will. There's also this objective here in the rear at Montplaisir. I'm not sure if these stars mean they're extra important victory locations. The Hougoumont has one. It's a red star like that. I think they're kind of like major victory locations. We can't see the whole British army, but they are there, rest assured. La Haye Sainte is another one of those major objectives. You can see the sand pit here. And then I'm not sure what else is, if there's anything else further to the east that's a major objective. La Haye, I guess the fortified towns or fortified buildings here are major objectives, if you will. Hey, Michael. Yeah, this is a game that I played a lot of when I was younger, and so I have a fond memory of this game, even if it is somewhat kludgy to play in the current iteration. Let's do one thing here. Let's go ahead and get some troops deployed in these forts. So first things first, the game's currently paused. I am going to go ahead and activate some troops, not of the Guard, who are over here. I don't know if I want to take troops from the 4th Corps. These aren't the Guard, right? The Guard's back here. Yeah. This is the Guard, right? Yeah, the old Guard's here. Young Guard. The middle Guard's somewhere in here. Well, what's the difference between old Guard and... Oh, those are middle Guard. These are old Guard. Okay. So this is the Guard Corps back here under Dushmir, I think? Or no, he's the Young Division Guard Commander. Chasseur Imperial Guard Commander. Grenadier Imperial Guard Commander. What does he have? Like 17,000 men? Dro Imperial Guard Commander. 17,000 men. That's absurd that your guard is that large. I just want to say. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a couple of regiments, or just one regiment, really. We're going to go ahead and activate Baron Grenier's division here, or brigade. And we're going to take the 2nd Battalion of the 45th Line. We're just going to move them a little bit south. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here. We're going to send them into the fortification at La Place Noire. So we'll go ahead and drag them here. When we hover it over the fortification, you can see you get a little door symbol. That means they're going to go inside there. We'll also detach the regiment so that if I give orders to the brigade, they won't move. And then I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to pull these troops, the rest of the brigade, back. I'm going to move them into maneuver column or road column here. And then I'm just going to sort of place them in the Place Noire as well, because presumably the Prussians are going to come up on our flank at some point, and I want to have troops already ready there. Okay, the rest of the troops I'll probably leave in place for now, although these guys are a little bit close to the Papelotte. Let's also take the 3rd, let's take General Brewer's 2nd Infantry Brigade. Let's go ahead and activate them. We're going to go ahead and put one regiment over here in the Hougoumont or whatever it is. It's another fortification on the flank that'll allow us hopefully to slow the Prussians down when they do come up. And we'll go ahead and move this this brigade of soldiers over here as well. We'll go ahead and move them into line formation. I'd like to get most of them into the woods. So I think we'll actually put them in double line so they're in the woods. That'll prevent them from being charged by enemy cavalry. We also have cavalry on the flank here to help as well. And are these more infantry? No, those are cavalry. I wouldn't mind putting a little bit more infantry in this wooded line. So we're putting some here. I'd also like to put some down here, just to be safe. But I guess we'll hold in position on those guys for now. This isn't the real focus of the early battle anyway, so we're going to go ahead and move other troops on the left flank. So we've got some cavalry up here on the flank of the Hougoumont. We'll leave them in place for now. I'm also going to activate Baron Huberl's 12th Cavalry Division. I'm going to move them over here on the far left. Then we'll go ahead and put them in assault columns. We're going to take General Kellerman's 3rd Cavalry Corps Artillery. We're going to bring it up. I'm going to bring up probably Reilly's entire... Oh, I'm not going to bring all of Napoleon's cavalry up. But we'll bring all of Reilly's 2nd Corps Artillery up as well. And we'll gather it here to the west of the Hougoumont, so we can kind of pound the British forces here on this flank. Are these infantry? No. Courier, however you pronounce that. All right, we'll take 1 regiment here, or battalion here, 2nd Battalion, 4th Light of Jamin's Boulogne's regiment. We'll go ahead and activate this brigade. We'll go ahead and detach these guys, and then we're going to go ahead and put these guys in La Placière, Mont Placière, here on the left to sort of anchor our left. We're also going to go ahead and take this brigade, the rest of the brigade. We're going to go ahead and march it into maneuver column behind Jerome's division, because I am going to make a major effort at the Hougoumont. How did I find it? I still have the disc, Michael, and I also have the original manual. So I was able to figure out how to get it running, but I actually have the original disc and manual still. I also have Austerlitz, Napoleon's Greatest Victory, and I have Sid Meier's Gettysburg and Sid Meier's Antietam. So I've sort of got the whole collection, if you will. I'm surprised it still worked. There were issues where it was running way too fast, but when I patched it, I was able to find the patch. It seemed to fix that. So, all right, so General Kellerman will take his artillery over here. We already said that Reilly is going to go ahead and move his cavalry or his artillery over there as well. And then Jerome, we're going to go ahead and activate both his brigades, and we're going to advance them on the Hougoumont. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move the 1st Brigade of Bonaparte's division this way, maneuver column, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put them in, I think we're going to put them in double line to give me sort of maximum flexibility. Also, I think the enemy may move some troops in through the woods here on our right, so I want to remain sort of thick, if you will. I've already brought 1 brigade up as reserves, and then we're going to swing 1 other brigade way wide to the left in double line as well. So move them over here. We've got Jerome up here. We'll move him forward. So we're going to put Jerome's division in this way, and we're going to go ahead and tease out the Allies at the Hougoumont. Okay. I'm not sure how long it'll work, Michael. It's definitely possible it could crash on us. But anyway, so this is our initial setup here. We're going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so we can look at things a little bit better. You can see the sprites aren't terrible looking when you zoom way in for a game of this age. I mean, it's 20 years old. All right, so we're going to move the troops. The artillery is going to start moving into position. We'll unpause the game, and we'll get going here. So you can see the troops moving into column formation for their maneuver, so they can move more quickly and more efficiently across country. And then they're going to advance on the Hougoumont. French capture some objective that I have no idea what it is. Meanwhile, you can see the Allied army is starting to appear. We can start to see these troops on this ridge line here. Wellington's historical deployments along the ridge. La Haye-Saint is up here. We've got our own troops here near the La Belle Alliance. Oh, shit. He's part of that division? Well, I'm going to create a grand battery on the left flank. You can see it looks like he's moving, or the enemy's moving some, I think it's cavalry. Yep, cavalry over here to the right. And then we've got British infantry coming at us, actually, near the Hougoumont. can see other troops forming up here. Some green, I'm assuming they're riflesmen if they're in green, but they might not be. Meanwhile, Soy's brigade is, I think let's pull Soy's brigade back just a little bit so it doesn't get a little bit overextended. If he wants to come at us, he can. I've got cavalry I can activate here on the flank. Alright, let's move our cavalry over here to support our flank. You can see Count Reli's artillery is forming up here. And we've got 11, or it's 11:36, 6 hours into the battle. And, yeah. Civil War II is the only game you still have a book for. I have the Civil War General, or is it Civil War II? So is it Civil War Generals 2, Grant Lee Sherman? Because if that's the case, I do have the manual for that, and I have the game disc as well. All right, so we're moving troops into position. You can see the enemy is moving troops all about, although it doesn't look like he's moving them down toward us quite yet. You can see our artillery is starting to form up at least one battery. We've got another battery coming up the roadways. We'll move this group of cavalry forward here. My goal is to force the enemy infantry into square, and then we can hopefully hit them hard. Now, the game doesn't seem to be occurring at a super fast rate. We're 9 minutes in here. But the animations do seem a little bit quickened, especially the explosion there. So much homework not done playing this in high school. Yeah, it's certainly possible. All right, so our troops in the woods here have engaged a couple of British regiments here in the front. Jaegers are being flanked, although they're able to shift their flank because they routed that British regiment to their front. All right, let's advance the entire division, Jerome. Well, not these guys. You have to hold. Your flank is in the air. And we'll engage these guys in the open. Meanwhile, I've got cavalry here on the flank. They're a little bit exposed in that position to enemy artillery fire, but I'd love to engage some of these troops in the open. All right, so we'll engage the Field Jaeger Corps. We'll have this general move back over this way. All right, so we've got 2 battalions here firing on this lone battalion of Jaegers. You can see here, this is sort of the experience marker. These are veteran troops, so they've got 5 bars of Eagles. They also have an extra bar because each flank has support. Their rear is also supported, which gives them another bar. They've got their brigade and their division commanders all in range, which gives them big morale bonuses when fighting. So you can see we quickly routed that Jaeger battalion here, and we'll continue moving forward here. These guys, I don't know why their formation is so wrecked, maybe moving through rough terrain. We'll move them over there to support the 3rd Battalion here, which is taking a bit of stress here as it builds up, but it looks like the enemy flag is sagging as well, which also means that they're not necessarily doing great. Meanwhile, we just detected another regiment here that we are hopefully going to wreck in these woods. I say regiment, but they're really battalions. So we're going to move these guys up to support. You can see the 1st Battalion. Every time you get that little "Leader of the world," it means you routed the enemy unit. All right. So you can see we are massing a large number of guns here against enemy troops in the open as they're kind of maneuvering in front of us, trying to get into position at the Hougoumont. These guys are going into this 1st fortification here in the Hougoumont. So that's why we can't move in ourselves. But they're taking flank fire while they're trying to get into the fort, which is really going to hurt their morale quite a bit. And we routed them before they even got there. So I'm going to try and move this infantry up here to see if we can get into the fort before the British can bring reserves in. And we might be able to breach the Hougoumont. Meanwhile, we've just routed another British regiment here on the flank. No sign of enemy cavalry. Cavalry is the big thing that tended to wreck my games in the past. Meanwhile, they're still trying to move into the Hougoumont. They're close. I think we're going to move them in a column, and we're going to double-quick them into position to see if we can't get there before the British, because trying to take the Hougoumont is really important. Oh, they're saying Vive l'Empereur, not Leader of the World. And I always thought it was Leader of the World the way it sounded. All right, so our French troops are into the Hougoumont here, so they are into this fortification. You can see they get 3 extra morale chits because they're in that fortification. It's considered extra fortified. So that is really important for them. British troops forming up here in this abatis here on the roadway on our flank, and Jerome's light infantry is doing its work so far. So let's go ahead and pause and zoom out just a little bit and see what's all forming up. These troops are all sitting back in reserve. We'll move these guys forward in a single line just so we've got a thicker line of reserves. You can see we've started to inch forward in the Hougoumont. There's a bunch of British troops all in here, and we're threatening the Hougoumont. Now, it's nowhere near taken, but we've taken the first of the objectives, or first of the fortifications. The objective is still red, so that means it's still part of the coalition armies. I'm going to say British a lot. I know there were, I think, more Germans on the field at Waterloo than there were British, but it's just easier to give them one name. You can see here the rest of our formation looks like it's still relatively safe. Sometimes the AI had a nasty habit of sending cavalry forward against my lines and absolutely wrecking me when I wasn't paying attention. I don't see that occurring here, so that's good so far. We've got our troops over here in this wood line. We've also got cavalry here screening their flank. I thought there was a battalion that was going to go into the Hougoumont. Oh, these guys, except they're apparently getting shot to pieces, so we'll go ahead and move them in column formation and make them go a little bit quicker. But you can see they're taking a lot of artillery to the rear, so they're probably not happy about that. Their morale hits starting to tick up. All right, so if we move a little bit further west, we go down to La Place Noire. You can see these 3 battalions are already in position. Where is the other one? Apparently when I detach and order them into a fort, they don't actually move in column formation, which seems silly. But when I move them as a brigade, they do. I don't quite understand that. Okay, so everything so far looks okay. My cavalry here on the flank has probably taken some artillery fire. It doesn't actually look like it. So the enemy hasn't focused their batteries on my horse so far. That's good. Let's go ahead and move this artillery forward a little bit and probably bring it forward on the flank. Although there's a lot of artillery coming from a long ways away. I don't want it to take that route. Not unless I want them to die. Getting chewed up by enemy infantry in the woods or something. Alright, so those guys are okay. We should probably also throw a regiment or something in one of these forts. So we'll activate whatever this tiny brigade is. 2nd Brigade of Jean's division. Move them into column formation. And then move into La Belle Alliance to help secure our center. Did I... Yeah, okay, so they're detached. All right, so the rest of the formation looks good so far. We've got a full division as well as a brigade from a 2nd division here supporting the attack. And we'll keep going. So on pause. By the way, guys, I am assuming I'm okay over the gameplay, but it's hard to tell, so let me know. Audio-wise is what I mean. All right, let's move these troops forward here to try and hit this fortification from the flank. These guys probably won't hold out for a ton of time. They're getting hit by a lot of enemy units. They're in good fortifications, so they'll get better morale, but it's good to have some units here really close in so that when they eventually get pushed back, I can immediately send reinforcements in. Also going to move these troops over here on the flank, and then we'll let these guys rest, the 3rd Battalion. Baudouin is going to move forward a little bit. Jerome will advance as well. Meanwhile, this enemy infantry regiment is apparently advancing out of the Hougoumont, and we've already got a fire on it by one of our battalions. The British do have an advantage when it comes to firepower in this game, which is historical. The British had sort of this four-line setup of infantry in like a line. I don't know how to describe it, other than 4 lines of infantry that had a big firepower advantage. But we've got 3 battalions firing into the 3rd line battalion, so this is a good line of British Redcoats, the 3rd line. But we've got some 1,500 muskets aimed at them. That you can see their flag is sagging very quickly. Meanwhile, the Hougoumont troops are still hanging in there, but you can see they're ticking up there in terms of their morale hit. Meanwhile, we've got 2 battalions here on the flank of the Hougoumont that are firing into some British troops here. We've also got troops to the rear of the fort that are firing, at least one of these battalions is firing into the fort. And we routed that British regiment, the 3rd Line Battalion. I'm going to go ahead and move these troops into this abatis. That's actually a good defensive position. And then we'll go ahead and continue moving troops forward here to threaten the left flank of the Hougoumont so that we can hopefully start knocking out other forts here and maybe make some progress here. Hey, Shelby Foot. I thought you were dead. Glad you could join the stream, too. All right, you can see both the British unit in the central fort here and the French unit in the front fort here are both, their morale is in rough shape. Neither one of them is happy. I think I'm going to go ahead and pull these guys back to try and save them. Meanwhile, I'm going to move these guys into the fort. I still don't see any British cavalry here, so that's good. So moving these guys in, they're going to take quite, let's just double click them in there. They're taking quite a bit of punishment just trying to get into the fort. Oh, nice. So we knocked one of the regiments out of the center fort. You can see, I'm guessing these, I'm assuming they're Jaegers, are gonna enter the fort. But we also knocked them out of 2 of the forts here. So we're making good progress here on the left. You can see large numbers of British reinforcements, I think, coming down. We're suffering a bit from enemy artillery, I think. I'm going to keep moving my cavalry up on the flank. I should also move some cavalry here toward this position in our rear to give us some support. Thanos, thanks for the follow. All right, so you can see here, large number of British troops up near Chesson-Nivelles. You can see they're bringing down a couple of battalions here. These men are moving into this abatis, which gives them a big advantage in fighting. We're going to move these guys into this tree line. I'm assuming there's a large number of enemy reinforcements on the way. I'm trying to move these guys around the flank. Meanwhile, our troops just got into the Place Noire. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. These troops are about to rout. All right, so we just had one of our light battalions routed. I'm not sure where. Not sure who. Oh, they were the guys who was trying to get around to the flank of the Hougoumont. All right, I'm waiting for these guys. Well, we'll just retreat. Ah, they routed anyway. I tried to retreat them out of there to save them from the rout, but they weren't able to be saved. So I just raced more troops in here. These guys are getting chewed up pretty good. I'm going to move these extra reserves forward. Why are you in column formation? You're getting hit by cavalry, and you're turned to the... God damn it. They're going to rout. They had their rear facing the enemy. All right, so I think we're holding okay here. Is this cavalry getting hit by artillery? Not yet. That's good. The problem is getting additional troops in the fort. When you take the first fort, that's great, but it's very difficult to get more troops up into position because they've got to go all the way around the fort gates this way. The other alternative is charging them out of this fortification to the other one and then moving troops up in the rear to support. But that's a dicey proposition, especially with this enemy artillery firing into essentially the flanks of our troops that we're kind of exposing here. To move in around, we've got to expose our rear to that artillery. You can see a large concentration of enemy artillery focusing toward our men. I need more troops here on the left. This is becoming a bit of a grind. Do I have more infantry here? These are all horsemen. Let's bring this brigade here, 1st Infantry Brigade, I think the 2nd Division here, Foy's Division. Alright, so we're going to engage them. You can see there's a big fight developing here. shit. I tried to move them directly. Instead, they got absolutely killed. I tried to move them across the courtyard to this other fort because I can't move in from the left here, and just got them wrecked. All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and wrap this one up. This is the first part of a live stream that I did on my channel a couple of days ago looking at the historical Battle of Waterloo in the old game Waterloo, Napoleon's Last Battle. It's not the prettiest looking game, so I can certainly understand if you guys don't like the way it looks. That being said, it is a really interesting one. It's a game that I literally still remember the sort of the charging sound effect in my ears from my middle school days, if you will, when I used to play this a lot. So I've got a big nostalgia point for it. I also do think it is one of the better Napoleonic war games out there. There's a sequel, Austerlitz, Napoleon's Last Battle, or Greatest Victory, sorry, by the same folks. And then really the only other games that compete with it in my mind for at least modern computer games, modern being like with... well, I don't know. I mean, Fields of Glory is out there, and then there's obviously Scourge of War and Hist War. But other than that, the pickings are kind of slim. I think this does a really good job. I also think the fact that it allows you to directly charge into forts, which Scourge of War does not do, is a really nice thing. And I do like the way that cavalry can sometimes surprise infantry and charge them, and infantry doesn't always seem to form square in time. Is a nice balance of how you play. I need to play Scourge of War a little bit more. I was playing it the other day. I was really enjoying it. And playing this might actually lead me to play a little bit more Scourge of War. But overall, I'm enjoying this. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. If you guys seem to enjoy it, then I'll probably post a couple more videos from the stream. But until next time, that's enough of me rambling. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you for watching, and I'm out.